guess who we have today with us? It's Jenny, guys, and she's already so pumped up. So, folks, I think we already know who she is, and she's somebody who needs no introduction. But still, I'm going to do this. So, she's been someone who's been in our industry for the last 10 years, and she's worked with different brands, including Google, Sephora, and so many others. And I think what makes her her one of the first people that we approach for this session is because she's just so passionate about communities. Like, you see it in her pep talks, you see it in her articles, and you see the kind of topics that she kind of ventures in. So we are excited that we have this 1 hour with her. And yes, Jenny, is there something that you want to add?
I want to say I'm equally as excited, so I grabbed my stepdaughter's pom-poms. I'm ready to go.
Yay, excited.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. I am so honored to start my Friday morning with all of you. So I live in Los Angeles. It's 8:30 in the morning here, and there's nothing I would want more than to start this day and close out my week with all of you. So thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored.
We are super happy to have you here as well, and I can already see comments that people, I think someone has written that, hey Jenny, we are pumped. Hey Jenny, so fun, so happy to finally see you, and woohoo! Yes, I think that's the same motion here. Even we are on that same mode. So Jenny, if we can start, something that we are super interested to know is that I just mentioned that you have been here in this space for the last 10 years. That means you have literally seen some of the platforms go from their nascent state to predominantly ruling the community platform industry. So what's life actually looked like? What has the journey been for these last 10 years? Can you walk us through it?
Sure. It's been like the roller coaster I never knew I wanted to be on. I have to say, like, I came into this journey. I used to work at a bank, which was a great bank when I was living in Florida, and it was, but they were a little behind in at that time in forecasting, digital trends for the future. And so I knew that if I was going to get into this space, I'd have to teach myself. And so I did. And I moved from there. I moved to Chicago for a couple of years and luckily became the very first social media manager and community manager at a company called Career Builder. And that's where I think I was mostly focused on social media communities, honestly. And so I think it's safe to say that I got my foundation through social media communities, which was extremely helpful for me to just understand the digital landscape and how brands want to come across digitally through those channels. But it wasn't enough for me. I wanted to hone in. I wanted to get more of a narrow focus. So as my career progressed and I stepped into consulting, I took more of that focus, just focusing on peer-to-peer communities. And now look how much this field has blown up, has grown. I mean, it's been so exciting because I literally sit back and think, I can't believe I have a career out of this. I get paid to help people build communities. That's just what I would do for fun anyways. And I do with my friends. We just make different communities. And yeah, so it has been quite the roller coaster, super, super fun. And I feel like we're only at the beginning of the ride. So all of us here on this today, we're all like coming together at the very beginning of this journey. And, well, in 10 years and 20 years, we're going to look back and be like, remember when, the field of community really, really blew up? Yeah, like really, because it's not when it started, because this field has been around for a couple decades, but maybe getting known in the mainstream, that is finally happening.
I think that's very well said. I love the fact that you just mentioned that, in a couple of years down the line, we'll be looking at and we'll be like, hey, we are the people who actually, we are the OG players in a community. So yes, I think that's very wonderfully put. Something that I want to know is, Jenny, you mentioned that, you have been in love with community since the age of 9. So can you tell us about that story?
Yes, I'm so glad that I can now tell what was once a very embarrassing story, and it is now, it's topic of conversation and podcasts and things like this. So, a couple years ago, I would not have mentioned this even at a dinner party with a small group of people. But at the age of 9, so I did start a little neighborhood club. It was called, very genius name, the Cool Kids Club. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's it's that name. I don't know. Anyways, I don't know why I came
That's
up with it or
really
that one,
cute.
but it is cute, right? Like, it's also, there's a little embarrassment. So it was the Cool Kids Club, and there were a lot of kids that lived in the neighborhood I grew up in Tampa, Florida. And I also was fortunate to have my 2 siblings, my brother and sister, who are somewhat near my age, and so we all did a lot of stuff together. And for some reason, that just still wasn't enough for me. Just the fact that we would get together and do things. Like, I felt like I had to put a name on it, and I felt like I had to brand it in some way. At 9 years old, didn't even realize what I was doing. But yes, I called it the Cool Kids Club. I would make flyers for us and have everybody. You could take these home and put them up in your room, and we would come together and we would ride bikes together, and we would build ramps to jump our bikes. Not safe. I do not recommend it. And we would play in the woods behind my house. And there was just something about kind of just having this name that we could refer to ourselves as, instead of just the kids, neighborhood kids, but the Cool Kids Club, we could come together, and I'd say, Mom and Dad, it's time for me to go hang out with the Cool Kids Club now. And yeah, I just got so much joy out of that. And I really hope that everybody else in the club did, because we kept coming together and meeting up. And I wish I'd saved some of those flyers or things that I had made. I mean, little did I know I was setting myself up for my future career.
That's beautifully put. So I love the name actually, the Cool Kids Club. That's
Thanks.
pretty amazing. I remember that in fact my first community was an anime club, which we had started in our city when I was 15. So it's very relatable.
Yeah, virtual
I had
high
no
five to
idea
people
this is a thing.
starting communities early. Yes. I'm just curious also if anyone wants to throw in the chat, if you are care to share the age you started your first community. And it doesn't have to be, the first one for or associated with your career. Like, the Cool Kids Club was not associated. It could be something you did for fun. So yeah, please do
Absolutely.
let us know if you care to share at what age you started your first community.
Yes, and I think we were all just meant to be here, which is why we are here in this life, and we are talking communities. So yes, Jenny. Now I have a now it's a serious question. Um, like I just asked that you narrated your journey for the last 10 years, what life looked like. This means that you have seen communities sort of achieve their highs and their lows. So can you identify some of the common and some of the greatest struggles that most communities globally face, and like where do they kind of go wrong? So yes.
Yeah, thanks, Sangeeta. This is a serious question. Hopefully everyone came here to learn a little bit from me, so I'm hoping that I can pass on this knowledge. The common problem I see across the board, whether it's a community based in North America or it's a global community, is reporting efforts. Reporting is extremely challenging for community managers on so many levels. The first level is probably that most community professionals probably aren't just analytic by nature. It's like we got into this field for whatever reason brought us into it, but I really doubt that a lot of people came into this field because they're like, I cannot wait to run the numbers and look at the data and look at all the graphs. Like, and if you did get into it for that, then I commend you. So, it's something, it's a new skill set, understanding reporting and metrics and what the data tells us, that I feel like a lot of community professionals need to learn in addition to all the other things they're doing. A second level of this issue is just that a lot of the platforms today, yes, they'll give you certain measurements about your group, but usually you have to rely on other things, like other platform measurements. Like maybe you've connected Google Analytics to your community, or maybe you're using Bitly links. And so usually you're having to track metrics in other places outside of the platform, as well as the metrics your platform is giving you. So metrics are all over the place. So you have to deal with that. And then there's just the time it takes to also go and grab those and put together meaningful reports. So I see every community team struggle with this and try to figure out better ways to be quicker about putting their reports together, be more mindful about it, and just be more intentional about reading out what the data is telling them. And so there's a lot of facets to that, and it's really hard. And kudos to all the community professionals out there, trying their best to deal with metrics and reporting. And so if any of you here, let me know in the chat if that's something that you struggle with as well.
Yeah, I think that becomes a challenge, especially when you work as a community manager for an organization, because that's something that your leadership would care about. And yeah, and so on that note, Jenny, this is a follow-up question that I have here. Is
Mhm.
that what? So we know the kind of quantitative metrics that you need to go through for your community. For example, I think one thing that's common that I've read in all industry reports is that we use active members to track how many people are uniquely interacting in the community. We are tracking content volume, that what is the percentage of user generated content that's coming up in the community. So what do you think are some of the qualitative metrics that we as community builders should focus on, and that we can sort of present to our leadership team, that see that this is the impact that the community is actually bringing in for your brand?
Wow, we could spend the entire hour on this one question alone. And so what it comes down to, it's a great question though. So thank you to whoever submitted it. Thank you to everyone who submitted all the questions. This is a big question. And so I'm not surprised that people wanted to hear about this and talk about this. And it all depends on kind of where your community is situated in your company. So are you sitting in the marketing department? Are you sitting in the customer service or support department? Are you sitting on the product team? Because it depends where the community team is situated in the organization, also affects the outcomes and expectations of that team. So for example, if your team is sitting within marketing, you're probably going to be in charge or tasked with the community helping generate better SEO, right? Helping to nurture some of the relationships of current customers, but maybe getting them to buy more. You're probably in charge of reporting on leads, on people who maybe aren't customers, but they're in the community and they're really active. So, okay, how can we develop a relationship with them to make them a customer? And so there's all these expectations. And let's say that if you were based in marketing and you wanted to create an ideas section of the community because you want to give people a chance to add their own ideas, the marketing team might say, no, but that's not what marketing does. That's the product team. So, and you're in marketing, and it's just, so it's going to hinder you when you are wanting to have so much more capacity and vision and expand your community, and yet you are dedicated to kind of this one team. That's why I believe that community should stand alone. That's a big uphill challenge for our field, but hopefully one day it will happen, that community is kind of its own department, and that way there aren't any limiting expectations on things. So because of that, the metrics that you are asking for that specifically to follow are going to change depending on which team you're in. And for those of you listening, if you want to know more in depth about some of the metrics you should be pulling and what you should even be saying when you're talking to these different teams, go on my website, Jenny.Community, go to the resources section. I have a free template. It's called the Roadshow template. The Roadshow is when you have to go around and talk to different people at different departments of your company and, get their support about community or tell them about community. And I've got some talking points on how you can speak to what marketing needs to hear, what support needs to hear, what product needs to hear, what sales needs to hear. And those talking points will also help you generate some ideas around what metrics you want to hear. So I gave a couple of examples from a marketing use case around, again, SEO, also returning members, seeing how often people are returning. But if you kind of just need one metric overall just to get started, I think a really good one to look at is how often registered members are coming back. Just start with that one. It's a very simple one to check. Hopefully your platform allows you to view that metric, how many people are returning. And that will tell you right then and there if people are not coming back. Well, then you have some kind of an issue. Like, they signed up, they registered, they became a member, but why aren't they coming back to the community, and maybe you need to reach out to them and find out if it's not clear. Maybe it's not the content they were looking for. Who knows what the experience is, but that metric alone will tell you a lot. And if they are coming back, but only in small numbers, maybe you could talk to those people about why they're coming back, and then understand more and maybe do some more with your community to help that number get bigger. So more and more people are coming back. Maybe it's just something about the way you've presented the information. You don't know until you talk to your members. So that was kind of a long answer. Hope it made sense.
So that is a good one. I think one thing that we take here is the fact that one should be focusing on retention, maybe for your events or maybe for your online community discussions. I think that just shows that how much people just want to come back to your place, and that shows that how safe they feel or how much they trust. So yes, thank you so much for sharing that, Jenny.
If I may, I also want to point out, so in the chat that I can see, because Sangeeta and I are kind of in a different platform helping to do this live stream. So I can't see the names of people posting, but I can just see the comments. And so thank you all. And I totally agree. Somebody said one could argue that you can never capture the invisible compounding effect of the community. Yeah, yes, I want to like blow that up on poster board and like put it in my office and spread it around. Yes, there are so many aspects of community that are going to be really hard to report on, because it's like, how do you report on the feeling that you get from a community? How do I report on the feeling I've gotten from joining community folks and just starting to connect with all of you and seeing your excitement about today's session? How do I put that in a report? It's like, it's very, very hard. So yeah, kudos to that Facebook user who was right on with your comment there.
I think that's come from Cherish, if I'm getting it right. You can just
awesome. Thank you, Cherish.
You can just confirm if I'm right. So yes, moving on, Jenny, this is a slightly different question, but something that we have observed, right? Like whenever we go through industry reports, one thing that we find for the community industry is that we have more women filling in for these reports than men. I think for last year's CMX industry reports, there were some 64% women who had taken on the survey. Which kind of like depicts that we have more female community professionals in the industry. So what do you think could be some of the possible reasons that women are taking up more community roles compared to men, or there are the other genders that are there in the industry?
Great question. Y'all are getting me with the hard-hitting questions today. Ooh, we're talking about gender in the field.
We just want to make the most of you.
I love it. So a long time ago, I read a study somewhere that women in general are more extroverted than men. Now, I don't remember if that study was talking about American women, about women globally, and I went to go try to find it, but it's been years since I saw it, and I couldn't find the same study, so I apologize. So let me know, just based off that statement from a study that was a few years ago that I read, let me know in the chat if you agree, if you think that women are more extroverted than men. And there's no wrong answer here. So you can agree or disagree or say, I just don't have any feelings on the subject. But if it is true, if that is true today, and if it applies globally, then I'm not surprised that a majority of women are in this field right now. I do think that is changing, but I think there's a perception of this work that people think it takes someone who is more extroverted to, be a community manager, because you're trying to connect people. And I always equate it to being a host of a party. If you're a community manager and you're hosting a party, actually at a house maybe, right? Or just at some event location. When people are arriving, you need to welcome them. You kind of need to show them around. Here's where the food is. Here's where the drinks are. Here's where the bathroom is. And then you don't just like walk away from them. Maybe you introduce them to people who have already arrived. And then you go back and start welcoming more people, right? So you're this party host and you've got to keep making those connections. And so when we equate that to our jobs in a digital space, I think a lot of people assume that it takes an extrovert to do this job. And I've also learned that that's not necessarily true. So I think it's just a perception, but I also know plenty of people who are introverted, who are kicking butt at being a community professional. And there was an article recently, ComSor wrote up on this about how introverts make great community managers. They are extremely observant. Sometimes they also actually take a little bit more time in their response to communications. And so there's just a number of ways that introverts are bringing benefits to this role, like extroverts bring benefits. So that's why I think that we're seeing the majority of women today. It's just because I think it's a perception. And so maybe more women are leaning into these roles right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see those numbers even out very soon, actually. Let me see, do people agree? Totally. I see a couple agree. Okay, yeah. So sorry I don't have that exact data in front of me, but I'm just going based off of an old study I read.
I think I agree. I mean, this happens, right? Like we're talking, and we don't realize that we've actually crossed the time. So that totally happens. And I think somewhere down the line, the field also makes you more extroverted, more talkative. Like I have seen that happening in my case, that I talk a lot more than I used to talk last year. So
So wait,
that
you
does
think that
happen.
like the role in community like makes you more extrovert?
Yes, I
Oh my
totally
gosh,
agree
there's
with
truth
that.
to that. I would say, yeah, I know. I'm already
So
very extroverted, and I think, yeah, it makes me even more. So yeah, good
yeah,
point.
I think my boss, my manager out here would agree. Like Paras, he's also watching this. That he literally tells me. So earlier it used to be like I was very shy when I joined in, and now he's like, Sangeeta, we are done. The time's up. You need to stop. And then I would just be like, oh, but we also had to like discuss this, and I would just keep on speaking. And I think that's what this role has done to me. So let me know, guys, in the comments if this is something that's happened to you as well. That you talk a lot more than usual because of this field. So yes.
I'm glad to see we have someone saying big time introvert here. Yes, yes, introverts absolutely can still have tons of success in this. So I'm glad. Thank you for saying that. Shout out to all the introverts out there as well.
Yes, shout out to all of them. So, Jenny, now this is a question that's been asked by a lot of people, and I think this is one question that's on as a community builder you sort of get to hear every now and then, and this is a bigger concern. What uh, uh, so what would be some of your tips for a community that's been struggling with engagement? How do you think they can better generate more meaningful interactions than just focusing on that, hey, I'll just put up a meme post and everyone would react and then suddenly my engagement would go high? Instead of doing that, how can they sort of better make their community members talk to each other? What would be some of your tips for that?
Yeah. Well, get everyone pom-poms and have them take a picture with pom-poms. No, just kidding. Something you could do, right? Surprise and delight. No, this is great because you do think sometimes, oh, if I just post a very popular, funny meme or picture, that's going to do it. But it's going to take more than that. And so what I think is important is that community professionals start to look at their community as a destination. What are you doing to make it a destination? And by destination, I usually mean that there are going to be some calendared type events, timely events, where that people literally need to add to their calendar. So if they get a reminder that they need to go into the community, aka go into this destination at this time and experience something. Now that can be some kind of a virtual event. That can be like what you've got going here with Chronicles of Community Builders. Congratulations. And that can be an AMA series. That could be like a weekly challenge. It could be a scavenger hunt. It could be a contest. I mean, there's a number of different things, but the key is to promote to your community that this is happening. And it's best if it is a series. So again, congratulations and good thinking on making this a series, because what you've done is you've given people something to look forward to already. Oh, it's a series. There's going to be more than one. I need to make sure I add it to my calendar, and I take part in the series. So rather than just saying this is one webinar, come at this time. So yeah, and even if you're going to do a weekly challenge, make it truly make it every week. Like don't call it a weekly challenge unless there's a different challenge happening every single week. So I think that having something continuous like that gives people something to look forward to, and it just also it's another reason to engage. And so give people another reason to engage other than just posting. And if those things are happening, those kinds of virtual events like that, and opportunities for engagement, people will participate, but they will also continue to post in the regular manner they've been doing. And hopefully that will spike some of your engagement there and your interactions.
Yeah, I think that's very well put. That give people that um that 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 feeling of anticipation, that feeling of something, a hope basically, that they have something exciting going on in the community every week or every monthly basis. And yes, moving on. So I think how we would categorize it. So we have a term for this which is called rituals. So I think a lot of community builders also follow this for their communities, is that they have like particular days on which they will be putting up a certain type of content. So we do Wednesday welcomes, we have Tuesday polls, we used to have thoughtful Thursdays previously. So and these sort of things actually make you want to come to your community at a certain time of the week. But something that also happens is that people sometimes reach a saturation level that, hey, now I'm bored of this content and I want something new. So when and how do community managers actually realize that your members have reached this point?
Got to look at those metrics. Got to look at who's coming in, how many posts, how many comments are you getting, and if it's not hitting a certain level that you think means it's quality engagement, it's quality conversation, or that it's a worthwhile event, then rethink things. You were right on when you said that some people, do get a little tired of things, and you have to switch things up. So, so you have to switch up series. Like, I'd love to think that Chronicles of Community Builders will last forever, but there will come a
That's so
time when you
true.
probably need to switch the date, the day of the week, and probably even like rebrand it and rename it, because so people know there's like a fresh new series coming out. And I know you have experience with these virtual, event series like this, like that. And so, can I turn a question back on you, Sangeeta?
Sure.
So yeah, so what goes into your mindset when you're deciding what is going to be on Fridays, what is going to be on Wednesdays? Like, is there, have you found that like certain days are more popular than others? Like, what helps you inform like when you're going to set something on a certain day?
So I think something that I go by is that weekends are usually when people are on their phones and their offices, they have lighter days. So that's when you can actually go for discussions, because that's when people will actually take the time to type. If you're looking at weekdays, you can put up some content that's something they can just read quickly and they can get knowledge. So community, while it's a space that people talk in, it's also a space where you're gaining knowledge from. So you can just put up some knowledge content. Could be around, we do Tipsy Thursdays. Basically we take a community term and we put it up in the community on Thursdays. Then on midweek you can sort of do like that motivation kind of thing, so you just do like, hey, welcome new members, and it kind of rhymes as well. Wednesday welcomes. And I think and I think polls are always like a great way that that's something you can pick up during the weekdays, because it's not too much of it's not too much that you're asking from your members. They literally just have to vote, and then you have like answers to different questions that you want. And people who are reading those polls, even though they are not participating, they're gaining some knowledge that, hey, if this is a question that's asked, then most people agree or disagree with this particular statement, which means that maybe this is why it's happening. And people who are proactive, they will always comment and share that this is why they feel it's happening. So yes, I think that's what goes in my mind when I'm looking at rituals. But again, that being said, they are not concrete. They have to evolve, they have to change. And because we want change. I mean, we get bored quite easily as humans. So yes.
Well, thank
I
you for
hope that
allowing me to put
answers.
you on the spot with a question, because and that's you put so much thought and even strategy into deciding that, and it comes across in your community. So and I find that everyone looks at that a little bit differently. Like I couldn't tell you like there's just one day of the week where you need to put everything, it's going to be different for every community based on their audience, and
Totally.
your audience, and now you have planned based off of their activities and needs, and just what you're seeing from them. So
It's
good job.
it's actually the whole team. So it's Akash, Paris, and me, and then there's Harsh. So it's literally the whole team who's put in all the thought, and that's why we have such crazy names like Chronicles of Community Builders.
Oh, excellent work, team. Excellent work. Yeah, it comes through the thoughtfulness and the attention to detail, and also and great branding. It comes through.
So Jenny, right now, so another question that I have for you, because I read your article around centralized versus decentralized communities,
Mhm.
is that most of us, we are acquainted to building centralized communities. Can you highlight some of the instances where, or situations or use cases wherein we can actually go for decentralized forms of community building? Because I
Yes.
remember you mentioned in your article that, although you believe that centralized communities are more optimized, you have started to now you've started to believe that it depends on the use case.
I am. I'm starting to change. I'm now a believer on both ends. Yeah, and and I admit that I'm probably biased because my experience and my history has to do with centralized communities. But the more I'm learning about decentralized, there's some really 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 cool things coming out. So just so everyone on this knows what I'm talking about a little bit, the definition of these. Centralized is where the community is, there's usually one community and it's usually like linked to your company's website or something. So everyone comes to one centralized place, right? And decentralized means that you might have communities in lots of different places. You might have a community on Facebook groups. You might have one in Slack. You might have one in LinkedIn groups. You also might have a Discord server. So lots of different places. So I've come to learn that the advantage of decentralized communities is that you're meeting users where they are. So like people who love to be on Discord and don't want to get on any other platforms, they're starting something there. You are meeting them where they are and in a place that they feel comfortable. People who spend a lot of time on LinkedIn during the day and and LinkedIn is their primary social network because of the business connections. They're not going to probably want to do anything else. And there's well, a lot of people I know just personally like not as active on Facebook like they used to be anymore. So they don't want to be on a group on Facebook anymore, and maybe they want to be in Slack instead. So I do appreciate that the brands that are doing that is they're meeting their users where they are. And I see one of one of the people commenting here that it's the future of tech, especially Web 3.0. Yes, a lot of the Web 3.0 communities are decentralized. And some of the challenges I see with that, though, so if you're the community manager and you are now tasked with saying, okay, I want to know how many people are in our community and how many conversations happened this week. Okay, and let's say that you are on 5 different platforms like Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, Discord, let's just say Slack, 5 different ones of those, okay? Now you have to go and total up all of the people in there and total up all of the things on your own because there's no system that will put all of these, together. And also, you don't know how many overlap. So wait, what if you have some people who are in your Discord server who are also in your Facebook group? And, and so wait, so should you really count that? That's going to alter your numbers, but you don't know because they're using different names. So so it's a lot harder to get an exact picture and pull metrics because you're spending a lot of time in all these different platforms. And that's why I do see a lot of brands who want to condense and now come down to one centralized platform. I think that decentralized communities are great for startup companies because, a lot of them are free and you can, again, start to really build up an audience and a community following through these different areas based on where your users like to spend their time: Facebook, LinkedIn, Discord, and so forth. So just yesterday, I was on a webinar hearing about the company called Notion. So if you haven't heard of them, they're like a productivity app. It's really cool. Let me see their website is notion.so. Notion.so. So they have a decentralized community and they're a startup, and their decentralized community, though, I mean, it's in a number of different countries. They're on a number of different platforms. They also have a number of different communities based on a number of things. Like if you're a student, if you are, depending on your line of work. So I really, really admire that there's all these separate communities for that, and it's helped to build up their audience as well. But the tough thing also is that, okay, let's say that, there's a great conversation, a very helpful tip happening on Facebook groups. And now the people on Discord are missing out on that great helpful knowledge. So that means the community manager has to go copy what's happening there and put it in Discord so that everybody gets to see this great knowledge. And that's a lot more work on the community manager. So I still think it's probably a lot more work on a community manager professional versus centralized, but I'm definitely starting to see the benefits. And overall, I think if you talk to the ideal community members when you're starting a community and they're telling you that they really want to be on Discord, they really want to be somewhere else, then you should listen to them and try that first, maybe. So I'm starting to change my mind around that area. And I would love to hear from anyone in the chat if you've had experience like with one or the other, or if you prefer one or the other. And I'm here. Oh, people like Notion. Yeah, Notion's great, right?
We all use Notion.
Yes. Yeah. Most of their templates were created by the community. Correct. That's a great example of also community collaboration. Yeah. So I think very highly of Notion. I admire what they're doing. And I also feel like their community manager is probably really busy pulling a lot of different metrics on a lot of different platforms.
So a follow-up question here, Jenny, because the fact that you just mentioned, right, that a lot of startups actually go for a decentralized system. This is something I've seen happening for brands in India as well. Now, for example, a particular brand is having a decentralized form of community, like they have their community on different platforms, and then they want to migrate to a centralized form of community. So what could be the possible challenges that would arise, and how can a community manager deal with that?
Well, you're going to have duplication of content and different. It's very likely that the same question has been asked in the Slack community as well as your LinkedIn group community. And and so if you're bringing together all this great content, you're going to have to sort through duplications. You're going to have to, it's also going to be a change for your users. And when I've seen this happen, people have the numbers in their community overall have dropped because not necessarily everybody wants to go to a centralized. You might have a user saying, no, I love Discord. I'm not going to join any community not on here. I'm not going to be in your community anymore. So the brand really has to make some tough decisions when doing that. And I also think if the brand is making it worthwhile and giving enough incentive to join their new centralized community, then they will convince people to go. I mean, if you get some kind of a perk right away for joining their community that you don't get from being on their decentralized communities, then that in itself is going to be a lot to draw people. But can you keep people there? Can you keep them engaged? That's why I think just a lot of research needs to be done and a lot of talking to your members first before you take that step. It's a huge step, and it affects the future of the community and the members that will come over with it. It's not easy.
Yeah, it's not easy, and I think it's very, very well put. Like everything that you want, it's right there with your members. So you just have to find the right ways to carve out that information from them, whether in terms of platform, in terms of content. It's all with your members. So
yep. I see the comment. There's always a challenge of product adoption. Yep, there sure is. So people, again, that's one of the reasons people like to stay in their systems. They like Slack. They know how Slack works. They really don't want to have to learn another product, another platform, right? So yes, that is one of the challenges that you face when you might be just trying to move towards centralized.
Yeah. So again, a quick question here.
Yeah.
If you look at, there have been like many community platforms that have been developed in the last couple of years. So if people actually don't want to move from their comfort zones, because when I look at comfort zones, right, I would consider it as LinkedIn groups, Facebook groups, because that's something that even before we are using groups as a product, we were already using the platform to connect with our family members. In case of LinkedIn, we are using it to connect with our professional connections. So we already are familiar with the platform, and then we are going and becoming part of their groups, platforms to sort of like join communities. What then? How is it that if you're looking at platforms like Circle and others, can community managers actually convince their members, or they actually should give a thought of moving to these platforms as well?
Yeah. Well, I think the brands need to make it worth their while. If you expect people to change their behavior and now be part of your community on another platform, I'd say the question is, what's in it for your members? You know, what are you going to give them? So most brands will create their centralized platform with some kind of gamification system, right? So things you can earn, kind of a status you can get to rank up to a certain level. And then I think the key with that is that over time, a lot of these brands start programs for people who are at the highest status or at the highest rank. So, and those programs can be full of special benefits, of perks, of, you know, of maybe some private beta programs or something. And so I think the advantage there is that when, you know, a brand offers that, that's something that, you know, that is probably being offered just through their centralized community and not necessarily through tons of Slack spaces and LinkedIn groups and Discords or something. I could be wrong there. And I do know of some people who start those based off of the power users from all of those communities. Right. But you know, if the real perk of being part of the new centralized community is that they're only going to start these VIP programs based off of who's active in the centralized community, then the members really need to decide, okay, well, if I want to qualify for this program, then I got to go be active over here. So it's all about what's in it for your members, what kind of goodies and fun and perks you can and benefits you can create for them that will make it worthwhile. And if there is a VIP program that gets created, that can be a huge benefit that might not be available anywhere else.
Absolutely. I think that's very well put, and that's also like a very good way of looking at it. I love that perspective of, sort of like identifying who are your proactive members and then sort of creating another, like starting off with another space for them where you make them feel special, because at the end of the day, that's what we are doing. We're making people feel special. We're making people feel safe, where they're comfortable being themselves, right? And
Yes.
that's how they're growing. Now, the question that I have for you, Jenny, is that whenever I open LinkedIn, right, or whenever I'm opening Instagram, there's one post that I'll definitely see from you, which is around communities, and there's something that I'll take back from it. This happens for you, this happens for Carrie, and this happens for a lot of people, and it just makes my feed blessed, to be honest. So, something that I want to know is, how is it that a community builder can sort of promote their personal brand? Because if you look at, then a community builder is supposed to be someone whom you trust in the community. So how do you sort of build your trust in that particular domain?
That is a great question. And not every community professional is going to want to build a brand. They might not have to, but I mean, yeah, if you want to be noticed in your field, if you want other people to be familiar with your names, that might bring, you know, great job opportunities in the future. I definitely recommend personal branding of some sort. And so that's been one of the things that I've had to do in starting my practice, is focus more on personal branding. I had a lot of private accounts before on social media, and I was like, oh, I'm going to need to, you know, create public accounts and really, really get myself out there if I'm going to let people know what I'm all about and what my company and my brand is all about. And first off, I've noticed that video comes across best, I think. And people who are in the chat here, let me know if you think that video is one of the best ways for personal branding. It's something that I'm learning. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying it's one of the things I'm learning, because I feel like my videos get the most engagement. And so something I'm trying to do more is just kind of even video, like my most basic things. Like if I'm writing up a document, I want to try to start videoing. Okay, so I'm working on this, maybe not mention the client, and like talk about my thought process a little bit. And even just a 2-minute quick video on that might help another community professional out there who is working on a strategy document and wondering, how do I put this together? So sometimes it's just a matter of capturing yourself in the moment and what you're doing every day. I mean, I find it interesting to see what other consultants are doing every day. And that's why I love following like Carrie Melissa Jones, and I love the stuff that she puts up, because I really do feel like she lets us get in her head sometimes, you know, and about what she's thinking of, her process of thinking, what she's working on. And then like she did this great little tip video on Airtable, and I don't know for sure, I'll bet she was just working in Airtable and then decided, oh, this is a great little tip, I should share this. So who knows how that came about, but that was a really helpful tip in Airtable. I didn't know it. And yeah, so if you kind of just document your life like you're a reality show. You I think that and snip that into little video clips and so forth. I think that will really help with your personal brand. And I also think that being genuine and authentic and, dare I say, vulnerable over your posts on social media helps people know you a little more. And so I try to interject a little bit of me and my personality and my hopes, my fears, my challenges, what excites me. And I think that also adds to hopefully the reason people want to follow and connect with me and get in touch, because I know that that's what I like to see from people that I connect with.
Wow, I think that I think the fact that you just mentioned that the content sort of needs to have a piece of you so that people can relate to that part. That's very well put, Jenny. I think someone has written here that video is great, but it's a challenge when you're camera savvy. It's a challenge to become camera savvy. I totally agree.
It
It
is.
does become very challenging. So
Yes.
yes, but
Even
one thing
even with even with things like TikTok and Reels that have made it, I mean, it's it's pretty amazing how they've created this software that can put together quick videos when, like, years ago that software would have cost thousands of dollars to be able to put together quick videos like that. Now, do I know how to put together these videos? I am not very good at it yet. I'm working on doing more reels. I am
no
working on
problem.
doing TikTok. It's yeah, it is challenging. So, but yeah, when you figure it out, it's worthwhile because it's also just more genuine, I think, and the way when people see you and it comes across through video, almost like you're talking right with the person.
Yeah, true. And I think you're doing a pretty good job at that. I've been watching
Oh,
your reels as well, so that's pretty cute. Even Celine and, like you mentioned, Carrie and then Vanessa, they've also been exploring with reels. So that's
yeah.
pretty pretty nice. One question that I have now for you. This is again moving on to like the serious questions.
Okay.
So, have you ever experienced a community manager burnout? Because something that we found out is that there's a lot more burnout in this industry compared to the other industries that are there in the world. So, have you been there in that space? And what are the practices that you follow to sort of avoid it now?
Yeah, so I have, and I've also experienced community consultant burnout. So both of those levels, and I've been very blessed to have wonderful managers in my career. And at the time that I was feeling that I was very upfront with my managers. So I hope you all have managers that you feel like you can confide in that and say, hey, I'm feeling burnout, and let them know and be upfront about that in case it's affecting your productivity, your work in any way that you don't know, and they're seeing something. At least then they'll know, okay, oh, that's why. Okay, like Jenny needs a break. Okay. But I will also caution you in that don't expect your bosses to fix it for you. Like, it's really like on you to fix that phase that you're in, or to fix is probably not even the best word. It to do something about it. First, I think you need to like recognize the place that you're in and give yourself space for the emotions you need to feel around. What is it? Is it stress? Are you upset with yourself that you didn't complete something, or that your bandwidth is too stretched? But like, I hate to say this because it's going to be uncomfortable, but let yourself feel it. Let yourself feel it, because it's only in that uncomfortableness where you will get clear about where you need to go from there. And so even though you might be telling your manager about it, in my cases, there's not much my manager could do except just, know that, hey, I hear you and I support you. But my workload didn't change. And so what I would have to do is get real with myself about, okay, if this burnout is continuing, what do I want? I mean, burnout is really a time to be reflective of your feelings and emotions and let yourself dive deep into that. And I think if you push that off, the burnout will keep staying. For me, it's things like just long walks, meditation, exercise that help my mind start to get in a different place. And then I can start to think about, okay, if this burnout is not ending for me, what do I need to do to switch things up here? What do I need to do to change my situation so that I'm not feeling this anymore? And then I put a plan in place. So that's how I've dealt with it in the past. I'm not going to say that that's the only way or the right way, but for the most part, it has worked for me.
Wow, thanks, Jenny. I think that's wonderful. And yes, I will just quickly acknowledge that I also have been blessed. I think someone just wrote that I can at least say that my manager is awesome. And even I want to say it out loud that my manager is pretty awesome. I remember that one day I was working till late, and he just went like that, hey, you know what? And I just told him that I've not finished the work, but tomorrow is Sunday and I'm just going to take it up and finish it up then. He's like, relax, close your laptop right now. We'll see everything on Monday. You need to give yourself that break, otherwise you'll burn out in this industry. So just
Yes.
wanted to address that you if you have a manager like that, you are quite blessed. So yes, and like Jenny mentioned, that you have to sort of carve that time out for yourself as well. Find space for yourself where for 30 minutes or 1 hour you're not on your phone, you're not thinking about your community, but you're trying to do other things in your life as well, and that helps.
I like the person who said, sometimes the way around it is the way through it. So feel it, baby. Pom pom to that. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I am assuming that's coming from Cherish or Paris. It's just my intuition, because I can't see the names here.
I know I can't
So
either.
let
I
me
wish
know
I
if
could.
it's
So, but I love how active the chat is. Thank you all so much for all the great comments.
yeah, thank you, community folks. You guys are pretty awesome.
I know community folks are the best.
So now we've almost come towards the end of the session. So folks, if you have any questions for Jenny, you can just put it up in the comments and we'll pick it up from there. Meanwhile, I have one question for her. Yes, I was right.
I have something very special for the very end too. So it should be the last thing we do though. Okay.
Yes, definitely. So the question that I have for you, Jenny, is that one community reflection that you want to share with us, which makes you feel inspired to be in this domain every day.
Can I pick two? Well, one is more of a reflection. One is a bit of a memory. Okay. One is a reflection. And the reflection I have is that the work we're doing is based around connection. And that word means a lot to me because I just feel connection in my job and with my friendships and in my relationship with my partner. Like connection is so critical to my level of happiness that I often reflect on that word. And what we are doing, the work we're doing, is connection. And so I like to come back to that as much as I can. So, but a memory that helps me keep going is, I started my consulting practice in June, and my girlfriends threw a business shower for me. And if you're not familiar with it, but the concept of showers over here in America is something that is usually thrown for a woman when she's getting married or when she's about to have a baby. And so I really would love it to start kind of a new trend. And I'm not the first person who started this, but my friends heard me talking about how great it would be to have business showers to celebrate my friends when they start business. So then they threw one for me, and it was so supportive, and it was such a great way to kick off my new business and this new chapter in my life. So whenever things are feeling tough in running this business and running my practice, I think back to that group of women who supported me from the start. Oh my God, I might get a little teary-eyed thinking about it, because it was just like, it's like they were believing in me and I hadn't even started yet. It was just so amazing. And it makes me emotional and so happy inside. And I think back to them and how they still believe in me. And so that helps me get through the tough stuff. And there are tough days when you're running your own business. I'm not going to lie. There are tough days. So, but knowing that I have that level of support from my friends, and I've had it from the very beginning, it just touches me right here. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I think your business is like your baby. So that's pretty awesome. Thank you so much for sharing this, Jenny. That's from our side, the questions that we had. This is a surprise question that I kind of had for you. It's kind of silly, but it kind of helps me reflect. So have you ever counted the number of times you use the word community in a day? And
yes, I have not, but I've thought about that. And I've also thought that if anyone made a drinking game of that, they'd be screwed. I have thought about it. In fact, the other day I was giving a presentation at Higher Logic's Super Forum event. And at the end of it, I literally said to myself, gosh, I wonder how many times I said community in that. Yeah, I know, right? That'd be a funny game. I wish someone could create like an AI tool of some sort where we could have it running on live streams and it could just keep a count going. And maybe you let people guess like what the number will be. And if somebody guesses the right number at the end of the live stream, like they win a prize. That'd be cool. So if anyone wants to create that, go right ahead. Yeah.
You have a new idea, guys, to work on. So yeah, I mean, but on an average, do you want to like make an estimate that this is the number of times I actually use this word?
It's probably a few hundred times. I mean, let's estimate how many times I probably said it here. Maybe not 100, but I don't know, like
50.
Maybe 50, maybe a little between like 50, 75. Anyway, take a guess in the chat how many times you think I've said the word community. There's another one. Add to the count. Yeah. Yes,
that would have been replay the video to actually like count the number of times Jenny's actually used the word community.
That would have been cool if if there was a counter and we said at the beginning, everyone put your guesses in, and then we'd have a winner by the end of the session.
Right. So here's one question that we have from the chat. Is that okay? Someone's written that I would die of alcohol poisoning within the first 10 minutes.
Oh yeah. Yes. So I don't recommend it for anyone. I'm not sitting here recommending that. Yeah.
Yes. So there's a question here that how important do offline activities become for sports or activity-based communities?
They're very important if your community can meet offline. So if you're like a group based in Los Angeles, where I live, and of course you had to go virtual during COVID, but now things are getting safer to go and meet in person again, then it is really, really, really critical that, in offline events start happening again. If you're a global group and you don't have the ability for everyone to come together, but maybe in some regional meetups, I do think that's really important. And it should be part of your overall strategy. Again, I think you should talk to your members about how often they would want to meet online, what's realistic for them. Because if your community is a group of moms, they're gonna have a busy schedule, really, really busy schedule, or dads. Sorry, not to exclude dads. And if you're trying to do it in the evening when they're giving their kids dinner and trying to put them to bed. So again, it's important to talk to your community about, okay, do you want to meet offline? If so, when is a good time for you? And then what do you want to do? What would be of value to you? So yes, offline activities are very important, but they need to be thought through just as carefully and strategically as Sangeeta was saying, as you think about what days of the week you're going to hold, your digital events and stuff. So.
Thank you, Jenny. So I think someone's written that we should try this. Okay, so Jenny, we're going to ask you to come again at Community Folks, and we'll do it on Zoom. And then we are going to ask everyone to get drinks as well. And we are going to count towards the end of the session the number of times you actually use the word community. And then we'll have the rough estimate.
If someone goes back through this recording and counts, I owe them something. I owe them a gift of some sort. Seriously, that would be. Don't waste your time on that.
But yes, but definitely you should watch this video again because there's so much to take back, because that's what I am going to do. There are bits and pieces that I've taken for now, but then I'm going to come back and watch this video again and take so much more, especially around decentralized communities, because that's something very very new to me, because I've always been like, oh, you should have your community on one platform and you should ask your members to come and join on that platform. But I think this is interesting and very new for me as well. So thank you, Jenny, for sharing that. We have reached towards the end of the session, and I know that you have been saving something really special for us. So the stage is all yours.
All right. So many of you know that on my Instagram account, Jenny.Community, on Mondays, I do a Monday pep talk for community professionals. So I have a little bit of a Friday evening pep talk specifically for the Community Folks group. This is just for y'all, and I've been thinking on this and how I just want to leave you all going into this weekend and the next week, feeling a little more jazzed, a little more hyped. So let me get pom-poms ready here for a very special Jenny.Community Friday evening pep talk for Community Folks. Community Folks, I am so impressed with your efforts for community building. There are a lot of groups out there for community professionals. There's a lot more than there ever used to be. But coming into your group and starting to see what you're talking about and the level of support and efforts that you are making to be there for one another. And even in this whole field, it is so commendable. It is also a level of passion that I have not seen yet in any other community of groups. I don't even know how to explain it, but there is really something special that you have created here that is unlike any other community group that I'm part of, and I'm part of a lot of them. Also, your efforts in India to bring community professionals together and to start tracking the trends, the reporting on your field are setting a foundation for something that's going to grow into something really amazing. I'm so happy to be witnessing it and seeing the fruits of your efforts. Also, there are so many people probably in India who do community as part of their job and don't even realize that there is a formal career path for this yet. And so they are going to rely on you, community folks, on you and your group and the knowledge that you're sharing and the things that you are collaborating on in your group to get support, to elevate themselves. Like I said, you are setting the foundation for something that's going to be so important for community professionals all over India who don't even realize yet that they are community professionals. You are setting a foundation for people who are going to come into this field looking for a career change or something different and know, wow, there's this whole group of folks who are like ready to support us, who are doing this, who I can learn from. I want to commend you. I want to thank you for your efforts. I want to encourage you to keep up the good work. Don't stop. You are blazing a trail that needs to continue. Please take that into your next work week and remember that you are doing amazing work connecting people, connecting community professionals, connecting India, and I love it and I'm here for it. Go community folks!
This is amazing. Thank you so much. I think I found my Monday motivation on a Friday evening. So thank you so much, Jenny. Thank you so much. I think people, this is so sweet of her. We have a Jenny Weigle pep talk only for community folks. Isn't that amazing? Yes. And I can see some comments here that woohoo, yay! Yes, we are super excited. And yeah, go community folks. Thank you so much, Jenny. Now you are also part of our family, and we are really happy to have you here. And thank you so much for doing this with us. It's been amazing, and this has been one of the best hours of my week. So thank you for waking up at this early in the morning. I know I think it's somewhere around 8 or 9 for your time zone. And being so energetic and sharing all your insights in community building. It's been great for us. And we hope to, we hope that, we'll have you around the group and we'll put you through a lot of more questions and we can host you sometime again. Thanks a lot for doing this.
Thanks for having me. Thank you for those who are sharing my Instagram. I really appreciate that. And I hope you all have a really wonderful weekend. This has been great for me too.
Thank you. And thank you everyone who's here. I think Paras uses the word survivors, that we survived an hour of community building. Thank you so much for joining. And yes, we'll be back with another series. Next week, we have our internal member catch up, which is our ritual called when Retro meets Metro. Basically, Retro are our old members. Retro stands for our old members, and our new members are addressed as Metro. So we'll be meeting up then, and we have some crazy stuff planned then as well. And next month, we have Carrie joining us for another Facebook Live. Thank you, people. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again. Have a great weekend.